It's 9 o'clock, and you're listening to WUMR Memphis. Good evening, everybody all over the world and, of course, parts of Arkansas. I'm David Sachs. It's great to be with you another Saturday night, live from the campus of the University of Memphis. We've got an absolutely extraordinary show tonight. It's fantastic. My good friend Jack Soden is here tonight, ladies and gentlemen, along with Dr. Richard Ranta.
Many a tear.
And I'm telling you, it's just going to be a great night tonight for everybody. So stick around. We've got some good things to tell you about. I think Jack Soden is in the house with me right now. Jack Soden, ladies and gentlemen, grab the mic. Jack, let's have come on in. Let me tell you something about Jack Soden. He is an absolutely extraordinary man. Jack Soden is president and CEO of Elvis Presley Enterprises, Incorporated. Jack grew up in Kansas City, Missouri, and he attended Regis University in Denver, Colorado. After graduation, he went to work in the investment banking industry while working as executive director of a money management firm, and he met a client by the name of Priscilla Presley. And upon her request, he came to Memphis and helped develop a business plan for opening Graceland. It is my great privilege and honor this evening, with me tonight here in the studio, the incredible Jack Soden. Hey, Jack. How you doing?
Oh, David, it's just wonderful to be here, and it's wonderful to be on the campus of University of Memphis. That means so much to our community, and so we're excited to get to be here with Dean Ranta and Dick and Andy and everybody to talk about Elvis.
It's so great.
Elvis and stamps.
It's such a great night. Where's Dr. Ranta? Dr. Ranta, come on in, Dr. Ranta. Dr. Richard Ranta is here with us tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Richard Ranta is the founding dean of the College of Communication and Fine Arts here at the University of Memphis. He joined the faculty of the University of Memphis in 1972, and he's held a variety of administrative positions, including Director of Communication Studies, Interim Dean of the University College, and Assistant Vice President of Academic Affairs. Dr. Ranta has lectured at or consulted for several universities, including ones in Belgium, Finland, and China, and throughout the world. He's done consulting work in communication education, political communication, and radio, television, and film production. And he's held various professional media roles in New York, California, Minnesota, Iowa, Virginia, Tennessee, and Nevada. including cameraman, director, host, and producer. He's written numerous papers, grants, and publications in the field. It is my great privilege, ladies and gentlemen, my very good friend, Dr. Richard Ranta, is with us tonight. It's so great to have you, Dr. Ranta.
Always glad to be here.
And what a great night tonight. Also, I have Dick Scott with me tonight. Dick is the president of the Memphis Stamp Collectors Society. Dick is a remarkable guy, president of the Memphis Stamp Collectors Society, and along with Dick tonight, the wonderful Andy Burkman. Andy, who is a graduate of Tulane, he's a well-known philatelist and a champion exhibitor of our nation's stamp collecting shows and conventions. Welcome to Dick and Andy, too. What a great evening tonight. So great to have you. Well, tonight is a great night. Tonight it's Graceland, Elvis Presley, the new Elvis stamp. It's an absolutely incredible thing about to take place on August the 12th. What's going to happen that day? It's an incredible event.
On August 12th? August 12th is the issue date, and our stamp experts can tell us more what the terminology is, but that is the date of issue of the Elvis stamp, which is the second Elvis stamp, following the original one in 1993, and we'll actually commence at midnight, at 1 minute after midnight on the 12th, and start selling first day covers. But at 8 o'clock in the morning, in the front yard of Graceland, the North Lawn, the Postmaster General,
Megan
Brennan, and Priscilla Presley, and other dignitaries, both mayors of both the city of Memphis and Shelby County, will all be on hand to officially introduce the Elvis Presley Forever Stamp.
It's going to be such an incredible, great event, and I'm going to try to get there maybe 6:30 in the morning and to get a good seat, Jack. I know it's going to be a phenomenal event that day.
You know what, David? You can come a little later, and I'll save a good seat for you.
Thanks. Oh, that's great. Well, the Elvis Presley stamp, unquestionably, is the greatest commemorative stamp in the history of stamp collecting. The event in 1993 was philatelic history, was postal history in this country like the nation has never seen before or ever will see again. It was an extraordinary event. I was with you that night. There were thousands and thousands of people from all over the world, converged on Memphis that night for that incredible event. To have been there, it was like watching Halley's Comet pass by. It was an amazing thing to see, not like anything I can even describe.
It was, and it was, if you remember, it was a very rainy night.
It was.
It was a cold, rainy night. And we thought, oh man, a miserable rainy night. Nobody will come, and there was a traffic jam for miles. It was really fun.
It was. Thousands and thousands of fans of Elvis and stamp collectors too, from all over the world, came to Memphis on that incredible historic day to honor the greatest entertainer in history, Elvis Presley. And tonight, a man who has done the greatest service in the world to honor the memory of this remarkable great man is with us tonight. I don't know what to say and how to thank you for what you've done to make Memphis great, what you've done for the city, how you've supported the city, how you have made Elvis's name righteous and great and incredible. There's no way to thank you for the good things you've done for this city.
David, all that credit goes to Elvis, actually. He's the one that really, there wasn't a soul to this day on the face of the earth that doesn't connect Elvis to Memphis, Tennessee, and that's because of Elvis.
Indeed. He was absolutely incredible. I mean, I grew up in this city, born and raised here. Elvis is as big a part of my life today as it was when I was a little bitty boy.
Well, yeah. I mean, because we say, I mean, although you can list 100 celebrities, and most of us can't name their hometown, but everybody knew Elvis's hometown, and he made sure they did. He always came back. His home, Graceland, was made famous by first of all, by his devotion to it. And he lived there. He died at Graceland. But it was, once again, everybody in the world knows that Memphis was Elvis's hometown, and that's because he made sure.
And, of course, Dr. Ranta does something extraordinary every single year, along with our own George Klein, who is also at the Sirius station at Graceland. Dr. Ranta hosts the annual Memorial Elvis Tribute here on the 16th annually here at the University
Right,
of
here
Memphis.
at the university.
Dr. Ranta, would you like to speak a little bit about the event on the 16th?
Well, the event on the 16th is we provide a very nice venue and have worked closely with the Elvis Presley Enterprises and Jack over the years, but it's a free event, and it takes place roughly noon, and people, friends, any relations that still exist, anybody shows up. Like Wink Martindale is coming this year, and you have something around, I don't know, 10, 12, 15 people who talk about their relationship with Elvis and tell stories. And like Mark James often comes, he'll sing a song or two that he wrote some famous songs
Great
for.
writer.
I Was on Your Mind and things like that.
Dr. Ranta, I was actually one of Dean Martin's space cadets on Captain Mars and his space patrol at WHBQ. When I was,
That's amazing.
I was.
What can you say? But that's amazing.
Well, back in high school, my nickname was Dean, after Dean Martin, for a couple of reasons. Anyway, Jack also has been a great friend of not only mine, but of the college. He's been on our advisory board and been very important to helping us. We are, I think, probably the only university in the world that has Presley scholars. And there's endowments that have been set up with Jack's help and Priscilla's at all the Presley Enterprises, so that each year a scholarship is given to a communication student connecting the film television thing of Elvis
Absolutely.
to obviously a music student and also to a theater student, the actor. So those are there for forever, and they are helping now put students through the University of Memphis through those various departments of the Communication and Fine Arts College, which, by the way, began the same year that Elvis died.
Oh, my goodness.
1977.
Well, it's hard to believe now. It's 38 years since Elvis has been gone. So hard to believe it.
And we also give the Distinguished Achievement Award in the Creative Performing Arts each year. This year it's going to Joyce Cobb, and an event on the 17th of September. And that is done in memory of Elvis because, it may not make much sense now, but when in 1978 came around and nothing was happening, a group of us got together, some folks from the county and the university and from citizens, and decided we needed to do something. So in 79 we began that and seminars and other things like that. And the memorial service, which you were talking about, came out of that, and that goes on to this day.
It's a great event. I try to be there every year, but and I made a mistake. I said when Elvis has been gone 38 years, Elvis never left. Because of what's going on today, Elvis is eternal and forever, as he should be. A funny thing about William Spear that I was going to ask you, Jack, who was a photographer. I knew Mr. Spear when he had the Blue Light Studio downtown next to the Princess Theater, of course, where my grandmother, when I was a kid, told me not to go because the rats on the floor in there were the size of chihuahuas. So she told me not to go to the Princess Theater, and of course the Blue Light Studio was right next door to the Princess Theater. And we had our dry goods store down the street. My grandmother drove Bernard Lansky to work every single morning.
Wow.
And when I was a kid, and I grew up across the street from the Lanskys, and Hal and I used to play together and everything. So I spent a lot of time with him. And of course, as a child, I remember Mr. Lansky, when my grandmother would drive, he would always put his hands over my eyes and say, "Don't look at your grandmother driving." So that's what I remember about Blue Light, that it was quite a place. And that, of course, Mr. Spear, I remember. But there's a story I heard about Mr. Spear. And maybe you can confirm this, that Elvis, when he went to have the picture done, which is going to grace the stamp in 1956, that he decided to take Vernon and Gladys back to Blue Light to have their portraits done, which I believe he did. And then after that, was it Barbara Hearn? He took Barbara to back to the studio to have her portrait done. But Mr. Spear was in the other room, and he was working. Well, while they were sitting in the lounge waiting to go in to have their picture taken, Elvis started singing to Barbara, doing some a cappella something, and Mr. Spear came out and started screaming at him, "Will you please stop that right now? I can't work in the back room here." And Elvis got mad at him.
And that's why he's scowling in the picture? Is that no? David, I've never heard that story, but it's from everything we know about William Spear, that sounds like it fits.
But that was a great place. I think everybody, when I was in high school.
But it is because we've been asked that. Like tell us about this exact image that's going to be on the stamp. That is on the stamp, and it really was. It was the William Spear photographs that was the very first that I think very first real sit down photo session.
We actually lost him.
That Elvis had.
Mr. Spear passed away in December of 2006, I believe it was. Or so, but he was
and we were able prior to that and around that time to acquire his whole collection of photography.
Absolutely incredible, absolutely incredible. He was such a great guy. I'll tell you, Memphis was like no other place in the world at that time. I still remember downtown what it was like, all the great shops and stuff, and of course Elvis was just so big to everybody then. It was just an amazing thing to be a part of Memphis way back then. And I'm still alive to tell the story, which is remarkable. I still remember watching Dewey Phillips as a kid at the Chiska on the corner. When my mother would go downtown to have her hair done at Breeze, I would ride with her. We would when Dewey had a little window like this in our studio here behind me, where you could stand on the corner and watch Dewey do the show through the window in the morning. And I would stand there with my mother. This was 1957. And still remember standing there watching Dewey do the show way back then. Times like that, I don't know, they're gone, but it's still Memphis history. It's such an important and a vital part of the history. And what's taking place in August, Elvis Week is not like anything in the world. It's a remarkable, the candlelight vigil, everything that it's about. There's no other city in the world. Wherever you go in the world, I don't care where you go in the world. If you hear Elvis, you're going to want to come home to Memphis. Mm-hmm. Wherever you go in this world. If you go to Israel, if you go to Sao Paulo, if you go to Vancouver, wherever you go, you hear Elvis Presley, you're going to want to come back to Memphis. And that's what Graceland does. It makes you want to come to Memphis. It's an extraordinary thing to see. Nothing in the world like it. And I thank God that such a place exists. It's just an absolutely incredible thing. Oh, I mean, it's phenomenal. It really is.
#1 again this year, isn't it? House Museum.
Yeah, I mean, but it really is, David. Graceland's not exactly analogous to anything. It's as we always say, like the top 5 like visited homes in America are other than the White House, which is kind of a separate thing.
Closed this year, so
yeah, it doesn't count. But I mean, we've always said, like Graceland, isn't it? It's Monticello, Mount Vernon, Hearst Castle, Biltmore, and Graceland. And of course, we always say that's 2 presidents, 2 capitalists, and 1 king. But Graceland's a little different than any of them. It's historical, but it's also really a touch point for people from all over the world that who have been touched by the music, and they come there from
Jack,
all over the world. In
1992, the United States Postal Service did something that had never been done before. We actually had a ballot to decide back then how Elvis would grace the stamp. That, of course, this time, did we have the kind of competition among the artists like we had back then?
Well, I mean, you guys can speak to this, but it's a different time. We were talking earlier that honestly, Anthony Frank, the Postmaster General,
great guy,
yeah, literally overrode the stamp selection committee and kind of mandated executive order. And then I think it was his. You can correct me if I'm wrong. That it was his brainchild because nobody could decide what that image should be. So there was I guess an internal commission of, I don't know how many artists were involved, but I remember there was something like 30, 35 works of art, and they kind of fell into young Elvis and old Elvis, which of course, as I've always said, there was no old Elvis, because the oldest Elvis ever was 42, but he launched the public voting for the younger image, or the later image. And I still find this hard to believe, but somebody said that more people cast ballots for young Elvis or old Elvis then voted in the presidential election that year. And it caught a wave and really it caught the fascination of the public, and ultimately the quote young Elvis image it predominated, and so leading up to, by then Anthony Frank had left the Postal Service, and it was Marvin Runyon that we dealt with at the time of the.
He was there the night of the event, actually.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I remember he was there with Mr. Frank. Mark Stutzman was also there, the artist who designed the stamp. Mark was a graduate of the Art Institute of Pittsburgh. He began his illustration career working at television stations on TV sets and things like that. I met Mark. He actually signed the cover that I have that night. He was an absolutely great guy, but also John Berkey, who was the other choice that we had at the time, I believe, for the other, which was the older Elvis, maybe from the 1971-72 images, something like that at that time. But as you say, hands down, it was Mark Stutzman's rendition of Elvis was just
well, you know what?
unanimous.
I honestly don't even remember what it was. I don't know if they had to have a recount or what, but the fact is, it was yeah. But it was it seemed like it was a clear favorite, and when the stamp came out, of course, it was an amazing. Amazing thing.
It truly was, and still is. The original printing, I believe, was they'd set 150 million they had planned to print originally, and it ended up something like 500 million stamps.
Yeah,
it sold over 517
million.
Which
Absolutely
is a phenomenal number, because normally on a commemorative like that, it's 100 million at the most.
It's Scott, Memphis Stamp Place.
Yeah, Dick. You can speak to this, because my memory is, from dealing with Marvin Runyon, like leading up to it, was that the biggest selling commemorative stamp was Neil Armstrong, the Man on the Moon, and I, for some reason, I've got 163 million in my head, and we remember encouraging them to, certainly they were going, oh my God, we're going to sell so many more than that, but we were kind of going, limit it, please limit it, because if you do, you'll create the value. And at the end, well, you just said 517. I was worried that they went higher than that, but anyway. Good.
They had to have several printings. Matter of fact, normally for commemoratives, at that time, commemoratives were only on sale for 60 days, and then they went off sale. But for Elvis, it was such a demand that they not only had to do extra printings, they extended and sold Elvis stamps for about a full year at the post offices, setting new records. The Elvis stamp made more money for the post office than any other stamp that they've ever issued. They said they thought they netted about $36 million. And what's really impressive about that figure is 29 million of that were collected by stamp collectors like myself, and those are stamps that'll never be used to mail a letter.
Retention.
That's right. Going to be retained in my album.
Retention was pure profit.
Pure profit. Pure profit. $29 million off of one stamp. That's incredible. Incredible.
CBS
Maybe
did.
the news stamp will get them out of debt.
I hope so.
To keep the rates down.
We better step up the marketing program.
Oh, that's cool.
But we're all looking forward to the ceremonies at Graceland on the 16th, 8 o'clock, right?
The 12th.
12th, okay. 12th at 8 o'clock. Okay.
8 o'clock in the morning.
That's going to be a great day, actually, and dignitaries and media representatives, people from all over the world are going to converge on Graceland that day. An extraordinary day. It's just going to be absolutely incredible.
Well, and
A lot of media coverage.
it's fun also that it is, as you all remember, that in '93 it was a cold, rainy night, a January 8th night. This will be August 12th. At least it won't be cold. It may be rainy, but the fact is, it's right at the beginning of the International Elvis Week. So we really have an international, fan base already in town and already excited. So it's going to be
Spectacular.
It's going to be special.
Absolutely fantastic day. It's going to be great. Now, what about any special types of events planned with the USPS that day, the Postal Service? Special cancellations, the kinds of things that we saw in the first.
Well, yeah, we're doing a special Graceland, like Graceland cancellation, starting on the 12th, the date of issue, and going through for several days through the 15th.
Well, you'll have the satellite cancellation stations at the.
Yeah, all over the campus, all over the visitor plaza.
Fantastic.
Our people have been out setting up electrical and everything else, so they'll be all set to go. And then also in conjunction with Sony, that now controls Sony Music, that now controls the RCA catalog, a special 18-song. It's called Forever Elvis.
Oh, I was hoping I was going to be the first disc jockey in the nation to play that tonight.
Nope, Elvis.
You didn't bring it with you.
Forever Elvis. and anyway, and it will go on sale with the stamp at just about every post office in America.
Oh, that's going to be great. And I also understand that some very, very special arrangements are going to be on this recording. Also, never heard before.
Yeah, If I Can Dream, particularly, is a new arrangement that's like a remix that's special.
Absolutely incredible, great. Well, so this is going to be a spectacular event, I suppose. What parking and other things available in the area as usual through Graceland? I know it'll be tough to converge that morning.
We can handle all that.
Oh, it's going to be huge crowd.
We're used to it's summer at Graceland is several thousand people a day anyway, so we can handle it.
And of course, the restaurants around the house will be also they'll be available that day.
Yeah, but most of all, the actual presentation event is in the yard, up on the grounds of Graceland. And the last time we did that in that exact spot, as a matter of fact, was in 2006 when Graceland was designated a national landmark.
Absolutely going to be a spectacular day. In the days ahead, with this type of event, Elvis Week, the auction, things like that, what does Graceland see on the horizon with the new hotel that's coming up that you have? It's the Inn at Graceland, I believe. It's going to be
guest house.
The guest house.
Yeah, no, I mean, it is just wonderful. After a long period of kind of positioning and preparing, we've already started construction just in the last several weeks on the new guest house at Graceland, which is a 450-room hotel that hopefully from the moment you drive up the driveway till you drive away will really, really make the guests feel like they truly were at the guest house at Graceland.
Spectacular. It's just going to completely revitalize Graceland.
It's certainly a new great aspect.
Fantastic thing.
And we're once again and we're right on the heels of it. We're working on a new we call it the West Side Complex. There will be a whole series of new exhibit buildings and new facilities.
It's great.
And yeah, and it once again it's just wonderful that at this point that we can be kind of looking at Graceland and going, its very best days are definitely ahead of it.
There'll be so many. Also, the provision of so many new jobs are going to be available because of this incredible thing. And plus, it'll revitalize the area. That part of town is so beautiful, and it's just going to all come back. It's going to be a magnificent thing.
Speaking of jobs, I mean, even right now, we have something 420 employees.
Wow.
And it makes me proud for Elvis.
Of course.
When I look around and think, this guy who kind of wondered to some of his friends, you think they'll remember me? Do you think I'll have made a difference? And, and here, 38 years later, but hundreds of people, are putting food on the table for their families because of Elvis Presley.
Because of Elvis.
Yeah. Just here in Memphis,
incredible.
Much less all, yeah.
He's so wonderful. It's incredible. I got to spend a little time with him when I was a kid and met him. As a matter of fact, I was coming back. The Hillel Foundation here, Dr. Ranta, sent me to a leadership training seminar at Harvard in 1972. I was up there, and when I flew back, actually it was Leighanne Hammond, who was you remember Miss Hammond?
Yeah, I do.
Leighanne was my academic advisor, and she called me. I was up at Harvard at the Leadership Training Institute. And she said, "You better get back down here right now, or you're not going to get your classes this semester." So I flew back immediately. Miss Hammond called me to come back for my classes. I flew back, and as I was getting off the plane, I heard this, "Hey, David Sachs, David." And I turned around, it was George Klein. He was just standing behind me, and George has known me since I was, in diapers. And so he asked me what I was doing. I said I was just coming back from Boston. And so he said, "Look, I want you to meet somebody." And I said, "Oh, okay." And I saw this man standing over in the corner, just a few people around him. He had on this great-looking white double-knit suit, and I could see from the black hair in the back, and I knew who it was. And he took me over to talk to Elvis that day, and I remember spending a little time with him and asked him how the flight. Well, they took a commercial flight back, apparently, that day. And without any great fanfare or anything, Elvis was just hanging out, just walking through the airport with George that day. It was incredible. I got to spend a little time with him. And, of course, I was at Graceland the day he passed away. I left just shortly that morning. And
I saw that. I mean, I saw that on a printout. You were there.
Yes.
But just
I left just
taking a look?
Just before you. I was actually with Vester and a friend of mine from Jesus College in Oxford, England.
So just by sheer coincidence, you
by
were there
coincidence.
that day.
I remember Ginger's car was parked in front of Elvis's Stutz Blackhawk that day. And we spent a little time with Vester, and Vester invited us to come up to look at the Stutz. And I asked Vester to ask Elvis to come outside to say hi. And he said he'd been playing racquetball that morning and he was tired. So Vester went in to the house for a second, then came back and told us we had to leave. So he had something to do, and I thanked him and then told him I wanted to come back, take him to lunch, hang out with him or something later. And so Nick and I drove back over here to the university and ended up at the Baptist Student Center having lunch that day. All of a sudden, a student came. We hadn't been gone from the house maybe 25 minutes, and a student came running into the Baptist Student Center screaming, turn on the TV, Elvis has just been rushed to the hospital." And we had just left the house. So the director of the BSU, the Baptist Student Center, said, "That TV's not working." So we ran out of the BSU across the street to the Presbyterian Student Center, right here at the corner of Midland and Patterson. When we got in, there must have been 50 students surrounding this console TV, and I saw George Klein in front of apparently he went directly to the hospital, and he made the announcement that Elvis had passed away. We hadn't been gone from the house an hour, I guess, or something like that. So, but it's a day I will never forget. I remember calling my mother, who was working as an accountant at the Hyatt Regency on Poydras next to the Superdome in New Orleans, and I called her on the phone. And I said, "Mother," I said, I don't know how to tell you this. Elvis Presley just passed away. I left the house." And so she says, "Don't, this is not funny. Don't call me this time of day telling me something like this." And I said, "No, Mother, it's true." And I was in the hallway in the Presbyterian Student Center telling her. So she put the phone down for a second, and she said, "Hold on a minute." She came back. She said, "David, I'm sorry, you're right. We're just getting the news down here in New Orleans about it." So it's a day I'll never forget. And of course,
it's a day millions of people won't forget.
I was at the wake the next day. Actually, I was at the wake with Silky Sullivan the next day. He was there with me, and that day when we got to visit with Elvis, the very next day in the foyer in the house when he was there that day. But it's a day I'll never forget. And I tell you, I don't know. There's nothing, there's no way to describe what Elvis means to this city. And
to people all over the world.
I don't know how, there's really no way to say what he does for the world. There's no way to express it, what he means to the world. And what the work you have done to keep Graceland, and to the things you have done, I don't even know. The fact that I'm sitting here, I can't.
David,
I wish Dr. Ranta would take a pen and stick me with it right now.
Dick, you have a pen?
Have you got a pen?
No, really. Trust me.
Game on arm.
Yeah, trust me. I'm so proud of the whole team of people that have been involved with Elvis Presley Enterprises. But believe me, it's like 99.5% of all the credit goes to Elvis Presley. And as I've always said, what we take pride in is we didn't screw it up.
Thank God.
And so, and it's just got it, and Elvis reaches new, young people, new eyes and ears. We don't do that. All we do is try to help the introductions and get out of the way. And so, anyway, we all of our life. Believe me, my life has been. Hundreds of us at Graceland, our lives have been affected by Elvis. So,
Jack, where'd Leighanne go? Is she still out there? I wanted to bring her in to say hi. The lovely Mrs. Soden is here.
Leighanne, I know. She must be down the hall. She's.
Oh, Leighanne, come on in. Hey, come on in, Leighanne.
Come on in here,
Leighanne
Leighanne.
Soden, ladies and gentlemen. Come on, how you doing, Leighanne?
Hello, I'm great. Thank you.
Yeah, I tell you, you're a lucky man.
I am a lucky man.
Beautiful lady. And isn't he a great guy? It's wonderful.
He's the best.
Wow.
We're going to have to keep her away from the microphone because she's going to start in. She's going to start in about cancer research, which is her life with the West Cancer Center, and
please,
I'm
Leighanne,
very, very proud of her.
I would love to hear what your work with
No,
that.
but honestly, we're here for another thing. But the fact is, when it comes to like talking about Graceland and people coming, etc., and I come home every night in awe of what she does, because she's raising millions of dollars for like life and death battles, and we're just putting smiles on people's faces. So
Thank you, honey.
Wonderful.
there you
Leighanne.
are.
So great to have you here tonight. It really is great to have
Thank
you.
you.
My goodness gracious.
Dick Ranta, one of my oldest and best friends. in
Dr.
Memphis.
Ranta's great.
He
He's
is
so
the
great.
best.
Great friend for many, many years and part of this university.
Yeah, that's right. Leighanne was here at the university for a long time.
Jack, let me ask, speaking about the different charities and organizations throughout the world, I know Graceland supports quite a number of them.
We try to, and once again, just simply, it's not exactly what would Elvis do, but that simple. But it is. Elvis was remarkably philanthropic.
He was,
and to a tremendous extent, he did it very quietly.
Mm-hmm.
It was obviously. I mean, there were a few of those high-profile, the concert in Hawaii for the Kuili Fund and etc. But for the most part, our records, our million document archive, which is amazing, is filled with the documents that leave a trail of Elvis, just unbelievable generosity that he wanted just under the radar screen.
I want to say something for a moment about the late, great Todd Morgan. What a great guy he was.
Oh, wasn't he great?
He was, and I remember he told me something. I asked him about the archives. And he said it was like the last scene in Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Exactly.
Is it really like that?
No, it is. And we have the archives in a couple of different places for kind of safety and diversity and everything else. But two of the big archives buildings, we literally laugh about Raiders of the Lost Ark. Like it's just they're 30 feet high and shelves and boxes and Dean Ranta knows that this is once again pure luck, that Elvis's life was split into his personal life and his career, Elvis the Entertainer, and in both cases his manager Colonel Parker and his father Vernon were just absolute world-class pack rats. Saved everything.
I couldn't imagine what Vernon. Of course, he lived right behind the house on Dothan, right there on the side.
On Dothan,
Dothan.
right.
And just a couple of doors down from Albert King's rhythm guitar player Ricky Harvey, who lived on the other side of the house. And there, but I can't imagine what Vernon's house was like.
Well, no, it wasn't Vernon's house so much. Is that he just and I guess you could say they both were products of the Depression. Mm-hmm. Elvis was born in 1935, and I telling this story over the years, I had people say, my grandfather was like that, or my grandparents, and it was. Because I always thought, well, Vernon was very he had foresight. Once Elvis was hit it big in '56, he thought, okay, let's save all this stuff. These will be treasures. But I mean, we've got all their grocery lists from when they lived at Lauderdale Courts. He saved stuff that
Incredible.
nobody would save, and we've got it. We literally have 1 million documents in this archive, and it's just a treasure. But and then Colonel Parker was just that way. He documented everything and he saved everything, and because of it, we've just got this massive archive.
Wow. And you actually had to construct it's like thousands of square feet that you have.
Yeah, we have one. We had a couple of our buildings, particularly, were built almost like bomb shelters.
Wow.
Because we've got, I don't know what, we have 60,000 negatives, film negatives. We've got, like a lot of the really original material that I just, when we built them, I could just remember telling our guys, just look, that 1 in a million, or like tornado.
Yeah.
That I don't ever want to have to explain to Lisa Marie Presley why 50,000 images of her father are spread all over Mississippi. So that we could keep them and we could protect them, and so the archives are great.
I've got to ask you about the Christmas lights. I've heard is incredible that the lights, it's something like 2 or 3 million lights or so.
You know what, we built up with a real colorful guy from oh God, I'm blank on his name, Osborne, but from Arkansas. That we teamed up with a number of years ago, and he brought all these gazillion lights that now, as a matter of fact, are at Disney World in Orlando, that he gave. Why am I blank on his name? Wonderful guy. Anyway, but it's not so much great in numbers, lights at Graceland, but what once again I think what we take great pride in is it's historically really accurate, and it gets back to Vernon Presley. He never, if a couple of lights burned out on a string of lights, he didn't throw them away. He kept them. Someday they'll find the other 2 bulbs, and so we're able to absolutely replicate Elvis's own. The Christmas he loved, with the blue lights on the driveway and the nativity scene in the front yard.
Fantastic.
And so, to us, that's what makes Christmas at Graceland special, is that we still have Elvis's favorite decorations.
Are we doing any simultaneous work for the stamp thing with the people in Tupelo at this time, or is Graceland have something lined up to?
Well, it's not exactly like a simulcast thing, but I know that the Tupelo Postal Service, et cetera, they'll be celebrating. They're going to be celebrating the issue of that stamp all over the country.
It's going to be just spectacular.
Yeah.
It really will be that day. Now, along with Megan Brennan, I suppose there'll be other representatives, media relations people with the USPS and Washington, and I can't imagine what a fantastic morning this is going to be.
Well, it will be, and you guys, we need to get the guys who really know what they're talking about with the stamps here on the.
I've actually encouraged Dick we'd like to add, on that day, maybe to have a table. The Memphis Stamp Collectors Society maybe could have a table that day at Graceland to encourage philately and, of course, stamp collecting among the city, which is one of the greatest hobbies in the world. I know stamp collectors throughout the world will, of course, be at Graceland that day, and are so excited about it. Lynn Stamp News, the American Philatelic Society, and so many other publications, McKeel's Stamp News, John Dunn. They're all so excited about the new Elvis stamp, and know just how important it is to the nation. And, of course, the eyes of the world are going to be looking at Memphis that day.
Absolutely. They'll on the first issue of the Elvis stamp, in the first day, they had 4.5 million first day covers issued in 1993 for the new Elvis stamp. I mean, that's an incredible number. We have maybe 100, 200,000 is a lot on a first day of issue. But Elvis, it wasn't even 1 million, it was 4.5 million. I don't know how they could stamp that many in such a short period of time.
Absolutely incredible.
It was just a fantastic issue. And of course, they had covers that were issued by Graceland as well as by the post office.
The I Was There cover.
Yeah.
There were only, I believe,
there.
5,000 of those that were printed at that time. So.
They were gone like
Gone
that.
like
Yeah.
just like. Now, actually, I believe there were, Dick, there were actually 3 varieties of that stamp, of the Elvis stamp. You had the booklet pane stamp, which actually had Elvis Presley in the lettering instead of Elvis on the first stamp.
That's right.
So there were actually 3 Elvis stamps that were issued in the United States based on that.
For the non-collector, it's one Elvis stamp.
One Elvis stamp.
But for the stamp collector, there were actually, you're right, three.
Actually, three.
There was the original sheet. Well, the original sheet was a sheet of 40 stamps, and it had just Elvis on it. Okay, it was the stamp that we are all familiar with, that stamp, and it said just Elvis. Then in June, they issued a booklet that had an Elvis Presley stamp on it, but it actually says Elvis Presley, and they actually issued a sheet of 35. And how they came up with that number was Postmaster General Marvin Runyon told them they will issue sheets of 35 with the Elvis Presley stamp on it also.
Actually, we have. I brought a few examples of these, Dick, for you to. You might want to go through some of this, and you can.
Oh,
now,
yeah.
Now here are some examples of the first day cover. This one was signed by Dolly Parton. Here's one that was signed by Dion, the singer.
My gosh.
This one was signed by Wilson Pickett. Here's one that was signed by Fats Domino. This one was signed by Neil Sedaka.
Wow.
And here's one that was signed by Ellie Mae Clampett, Donna Douglas, who we just lost. And this one was signed by Debbie Reynolds, Jack. So a few examples there. And, of course, actually, I think there are some valid examples, but now this is what we all remember, the full sheet of the stamps that were issued in along with the glass scenes from the event at that time.
That's right.
And,
What the folks at home are not able to see is
Dr. Ranta?
these stamps just keep rolling out from
Keep rolling out.
I know we're not doing very good radio here. We must have several hundred stamps here.
In color.
So, all in living color.
I think you have the major collection of.
And ladies and gentlemen, you
Presley
can see the
birthday
face I have for radio right now.
That's fantastic.
So this is Elvis stamp, and actually some people actually had these canceled that day, the entire sheets, which are another collectible variety. But most everyone I know, they put them in frames and save them. So there are millions of these out there that are I guess strangling the market on them. So
Yeah.
There are about 29 million out there at least. That's all right. That's all
It's
right.
something.
It was a 29-cent stamp, by the way.
It was at that time. The new stamp, of course, is the peelable variety. It's not the same.
And forever.
And forever.
Well, it's 49 cents right now.
49 cents.
But it doesn't matter what the postage goes to. If it goes to $1.
But
You can still use it.
Buyers of the stamp, it'll be 49 cents.
Oh, it's such a deal.
We'll always carry a letter.
It's going to be great.
We're only 9 cents away from being able to use 2 of the originals for.
There you go.
Now,
Don't give them any ideas.
That's inflation.
Jack, you want to sit down? Have a
No,
seat,
I'm
Jack?
good. I'm good.
Well,
I'm good
the,
standing up.
The new CD that Sony has released. So let's talk about the music a little bit. If you have a minute. To
Yeah, and I, if you ask me to name the 18 songs, I can't do it.
But I Can Dream, which is being.
If I Can Dream is the kind of is the spin that it's a remastered.
It's being remastered.
Yeah, which is, but it's called Elvis Forever, which in conjunction with the Forever Stamp, and it's only sold. It will only be available at the same places the stamps are.
Will it also be?
Service.
And at Graceland.com and Elvis.com, you can order it.
I believe so. Right.
On both of the websites. The mastering of the new. There's some original cuts that are being remastered for the CD, or that have been rather. But also, I understand. I've heard through the grapevine that there's an instrumental with Elvis singing with the London Philharmonic. Is that correct?
But yeah, the London Philharmonic, and it's going to be. I'm trying to think. Its release is coming up in the fall.
That's absolutely incredible, fantastic. And this is something that Graceland arranged with.
Ooh, yeah, well, it was Sony. Sony controls the masters. I mean, we have all the original, which is fun to have all the original sheet music, and in the archives, and And this is a project. A lot of it's the London Philharmonic, but an awful lot of it, if not all of it's being recorded at Abbey Roads,
Gosh,
which is fun in London.
It'll go platinum on the 12th. Well, I'm predicting. I hope I'm not wrong. I know it's going to be spectacular. But now the last wasn't it at the last event also there may have been a special collection of music. At one event recently, the Gold and Black CD that was released was part of a special event with Elvis also at that time. I was trying to remember if there was something else at that time, but I can't remember another collection that either Sony or RCA.
Well, Sony, I mean, RCA was purchased by BMG, Bertelsmann Music Group, along the way, and then BMG became Sony BMG, then now it's Sony. So Sony has the RCA catalog in what they call the Legacy division, and they're tending to come out with specialty releases. In other words, there's not really exactly the market for the real big releases.
Now, Elvis Week this year, it will begin. It actually begins on
the dates are the 8th to the 16th.
8th to the 16th. The
16th, of course, always being kind of the end because it's the anniversary of Elvis's death.
Which, of course, is a great day for us here at the University of Memphis, where we memorialize and, of course, honor his.
We have the long-standing memorials.
For many years now.
What do you call it? It's like a seminar, really.
Yeah, it's not a service, but it's
it's
just
it's a tribute. It's a memorial
The
tribute.
Elvis Memorial Tribute. And, of course, George Klein will be here, and along with all of his friends that day.
Well, and always, as Dick says, it's over the years they've had all kinds of which has been a real kind of contribution to the oral history. To have people, because you've had so many people along the way that are no longer with us.
Sam Phillips, for example.
Yeah, I was just going to say.
I will say this, you have to get, for this event, you absolutely must get here early to get a seat. It's always standing room only. It's always packed. It is just absolutely packed. And it'll begin at noon on August the 16th here on the campus of the University of Memphis.
Well, and it's always, it's interesting to me and all of us and our team that you could argue that, and there are some faces that we've known for many years that you could argue that at some point it's the same old people telling the same old stories to the same old audience, but none of that's true. It's always this new people and new angles and new audiences. That's what amazes us. I mean, to walk around Graceland on a summer afternoon. And I swear, I've been over there just in the last week or two and looked around and I thought, just everybody on thousands. I'm looking at people everywhere that are younger than Elvis. They were born after he died. And they're there at Graceland by the hundreds, by the thousands. And they're there during Elvis Week from all over the country, really interested in hearing every story and they just are hungry for every bit of information about Elvis they can get.
What was it like hanging out with the Emperor of Japan?
You know what? He was just the Prime Minister Koizumi. On the day he came, that was the summer of '06 too, with President Bush, and he was delightful because we knew he was a fan. I mean, he literally, his brother was the president of the Japanese fan club, and we knew that we had heard that Koizumi's brother had become prime minister, and then, of course, whatever it was, 4 years later or whatever. So we knew that the prime minister was a big fan, but I don't think we expected him to act like such a fan when he was at Graceland. He was literally beside himself. He was, and I've got to admit, and wow. President Bush and Laura Bush were mostly just. They were laughing too. Because he'd run over, he'd see something on the wall, and he'd literally run over like a fan and tap on it and start just a mile a minute in Japanese, far faster than the translator could keep up with, trying to tell this is this picture. I love this picture, and anyway, it couldn't have been a more delightful experience.
Absolutely great, Jack. It's getting close to the 10 o'clock hour, and I know you probably want to get back to your house and get some rest. I know it's been a great day, a long day for you. First, I want to thank you so very, very much for being here tonight. I can't say enough. On
What a
behalf of
pleasure.
all of us here.
What a pleasure to be here.
Oh my goodness, and I absolutely hope, maybe annually or whenever, I want you to come back and hang out. It's just so great to have you and Leighanne tonight. And what a great privilege and honor to have you here tonight. And this is going to be just a spectacular day on the 12th of August. And I want to thank you so much, all of us here at the University of Memphis. So grateful to you for all you do, not just for the University of Memphis, but for the world. Jack Soden, it is such an honor to have you tonight.
Oh, no, it's an honor to be here, and always fun to be on this campus.
You're absolutely
the
the greatest.
University of Memphis.
I'm gonna keep Dr. Ranta, Dr. Richard Ranta. I don't know
have
what
to
he's.
go home and play nurse.
He's got to play nurse tonight. I'm hoping we're going to keep Dick and Andy around for a minute to talk a little about stamp collecting.
Good.
But I want to thank you so very much tonight.
Thank you.
And on behalf of all of us here at the University of Memphis, it's the very best of luck and the greatest, and hope to have you back soon.
And I'm going to see you on the morning of the 12th.
I'll be there with you. I will be there with you
And
for
Andy,
sure.
you guys too? Are you going to be out there?
We'll be
We
there.
plan to.
All right. Well then,
6:30, I
call
think.
me ahead of time. We'll make sure.
Dr. Ranta?
Thank you, David.
You're the
How
greatest.
fun! How fun!
I'll see you soon, Dr. Ranta.
Nice to see you.
It's 9:56 here on the campus of the University of Memphis, and what a great evening. I don't know how to describe it other. It's just going to be a fantastic event. So stick around. We're going to talk about stamp collecting a little bit and play a little music, and we'll be right back.